Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. Jungleによくそ楽しいこととゲームがある Just too many syllables to make that work. ジャングルの中、ジャングルの中 Sometimes the beard's itchy. Alright. Welcome to Japanese from Zero. I'm George Trombley, and today we're going to do a little bit something different. We do normally have something called Ask a Teacher, but those tend to be random questions. We're going to talk about questions that have popped up on YouTube about Course 3 stuff, and I'm sorry I haven't gotten to everything. I typically like to answer on YouTube itself, but today we're going to take just a few of these that I thought were important enough to bring up here. This first one is from Sebastian Warch with a line L through a line through it. I don't know what that means. This L with a line through it, I don't know how to read that. Warcher. I literally wanted to say, why don't use kanji that we already known in the examples that you present to us? I did in the last video because of your comment. You're right. I have been sticking mostly to the hiragana, and I think it's just because I'm very comfortable doing that. And I know that not everyone's actually learned the kanji that they're supposed to, and we don't have a specific... There's a thing that we do in Book 4. In Book 4, we have a section called Kanji Recognition, okay? Let me just pop open a section. Okay, so we'll do something like this. So this is the Kanji Recognition section of Book 4. And it'll say, from this point forward, you should know all of these words with no more furigana, right? And I specifically say, for example, spirit, house, break, dog, water, Kyoto. You no longer will see furigana on those words. But we don't do that in this revision of Japanese from Zero Book 3 that we're doing right now. So I never felt like safe enough to just put it up there because I thought some people would feel left out. But you're right. We should know how to read, for example, at this point, Nihon or Hito. Those are pretty easy to read kanji, and we know them already, and I should reinforce them like we do actually in the book. In a revision of Japanese from Zero Book 3, I will be putting in a kanji recognition system where I force you to say, from this point forward, no more furigana. Furigana is the helper hiragana on top of a kanji. So we'll start removing that in Book 3 in the next revision. Book 4 is the first book to do it, so naturally it's all over the place in this book. And Book 5 will do the same thing. So that's why I haven't done it. But from this point forward, I will take your suggestion and I will go ahead and make sure that we do that. All right, next question is from Laz for Laz. He says, in your opinion, which should I learn first, Japanese or Korean? I find this interesting that it's in one of the Course 3 videos that he's asking it. I feel like maybe we should just continue learning Japanese at this point. If you're asking me which I should learn first, Japanese or Korean, and you're already on like video 79 or 80, you probably should just keep learning Japanese and then jump to Korean. The good news is, whether you learn Korean first or Japanese first, both languages have a base of similar knowledge, right? Like grammar order is the same for sentence order. They end everything with a verb. The way they use particles is pretty much almost exactly the same. There's some minor differences that you have to get used to. Korean, for example, has 2 particles for the same function, and they choose which one to use based on if it ended with a vowel or it ended with a consonant. Japanese always has the same. Wa is always wa. But in Korean, they have un or nin, depending on if it ended with a consonant or a vowel, the prior word. So that's a little bit more complicated. So I feel like it would be... Give me 1 second. I apologize 1 second. Thank you very much. I have been pointed out again. This is the second time I've done it where my screen is not full screen. And to you guys, it doesn't matter watching this camera, but to those people trying to see what's on the screen, it's very difficult in the live stream. So 1 second. Woo! We're full screen. Sorry about that, guys. That's why I should never transition out of that screen, I guess. All right, let's get back to it. All right. So back to the question of should you learn Korean or Japanese? I mean, that is purely whichever one you're doing good at right now, keep doing that. Whichever one you have the most passion in right now, start with that one. Because the next one is going to be much easier for you to learn because 50% of what you need to know is already there. I always tell people the best way to learn Korean is to learn Japanese first. Now, since I've only done it that way, I don't know. But I have met many Koreans that within a year, their Japanese is excellent. So I would say, if you're already doing Korean, I would say the best way to learn Japanese is to learn Korean first. They're both very interchangeable in many ways. And in a sense, Korean writing is much, much easier than Japanese. But Korean accent is much, much harder than Japanese. So there's a balance there, right? It's much harder to do Korean conjugation, I think. Much harder to do Korean speaking and listening. Japanese is very a, I, u, e, o, and that makes it very easy to listen to, very easy to get the accent down. But they have that complicated writing. You have hiragana, katakana, and kanji, whereas Korean just has one writing system. So there's gives and takes for both. I would say, though, you're asking the right question, but the answer is actually which one you want to start for first is better, whichever one you want to do. But the bigger part is, the bigger picture thing is, do learn both. Why stop at one language? It's so much more interesting. Think about how much you changed as a human being knowing a lot of Japanese, knowing some Japanese. A lot of the people that are on this lesson or coming up to the end of book 3, they know more Japanese than 99% of Americans. And I know it feels good. Imagine now you had that level of Korean. It's amazing. I highly recommend it. And by the way, you might not know it, but you'll see in the background, we do have a book called Korean from Zero, which I also wrote. Korean from Zero, book 1, book 2, and book 3. And you can go download the Korean from Zero book free, completely free from KoreanFromZero.com. And all of our courses are also free. All free. Course 1, 2, and 3 on KoreanFromZero.com. So go there and check it out. All right, let me take a quick drink here. Hiram Zardana says, when using dake no, the noun one, will it still be correct if I remove the no? Which will look like dake noun, something dake noun. So if I say, 二人だけデート, would it still make sense? I noticed that in the YouTube comments, someone made it look like, yeah, that's totally fine. I disagree. You definitely want to say 二人だけのデート because you're modifying date. It's like removing the of from a thing that requires of, like, it's almost like saying, let me think about how this works. My China friend. Like, it feels right, but it's wrong. It's my friend from China, or my Chinese friend. It's not China friend, right? So you definitely want to have to know. 二人だけのデート. Now, in my answer on YouTube, what I wrote was, you could theoretically say 二人だけデートしました if there's more around it. Just the two of us, デートしました, we dated. We went on a date. That's fine. But if you're saying one item, a date with just two of us, it has to have the no in there. 二人だけのデート. All right. Next one is from Catboy721. That's a very popular name, Catboy. But I'm glad that you got your name under 1,000. You didn't have to go 4 digits. At least you're in the top 722 of Catboys. George, how does this verb suffix tie in with hoshi? Guessing the distinction is between wanting a thing versus wanting to do a thing, but they're confusing concepts for me. Yeah, if you think that the difference between verb plus hoshi and just hoshi is wanting to do it versus wanting it, you're wrong. And that's why it's confusing. Let's go ahead and look at this. This is actually really important. So let's look at it. You have naon ga hoshi. That is just pure, I want this thing. Like, I want to own it. Like, oh man, always wanted an empty bottle. Empty bottle ga hoshi. Okay? Kara no botoru ga hoshi. Why you would want an empty bottle, I don't know, but that's how you would say it, right? But then there's this other thing that we have not learned. We have not learned in this book, and we will not learn it until book 4 or maybe 5 even, but probably 4, I'm guessing. I don't remember, though. It's te form, which we already know, plus hoshi. You already have all the parts. And that means I want you to do it. Not I want to do it. I want you to do it. You still want, and you want the command, like, tabete, eat. Hoshi, I want it. I want you to eat. Does that make sense? Let's look at some examples. Here's our standard sentence with hoshi. Inu ga hoshii. I want a dog. Inu o kaitai. Now, remember that depending on the kanji, kaitai can mean I want to raise or I want to buy. In this case, we're going to make it buy, okay? So we're just talking about buying a dog. I want to buy a dog. This is want to buy. Notice there's no hoshi in there. But if we said, inu o katte hoshii, this is not something you want to do. You want someone else to do it. Maybe your father. Maybe your friend. Maybe you're a cute little girl on a date. And you're like, takena kitsi. I mean, just imagine like an anime, a little girl doing this. Inu o katte hoshii. I want you to buy me a dog. Okay? I'm sorry. That was very disgusting. I know when I make that voice, people are not happy most of the time. So, inu o katte hoshii. You can say that to somebody and say, I want you to buy me a dog. Okay? All right? Or I want them to buy me a dog. So, here we go. Another one. Sushi ga hoshii desu. I want sushi. Sushi o tabetai desu. Or you could say sushi ga tabetai desu, right? Just like, remember, tabetai and the Thai forms normally would use ga. And I'm using o, but that's okay. Both are okay. Typically, you're going to use ga. Sushi ga tabetai desu, right? Sushi is a thing I want to eat. I want to eat sushi. But if you say, sushi o tabete hoshii desu, maybe you're talking to your son or your daughter and they've been eating junk all day and they haven't eaten sushi. And I want you to eat the sushi. Look, eat the sushi, please. I want you to eat it. Okay? Because it's better for your health. Kisu ga hoshii. I want a kiss. I want a kiss. Kisu ga shitai. I want to kiss. Right? Say this to a boy or a girl. Kisu o shite hoshii. I want you to kiss me. Okay? Now, I say this a lot. When I say granted, there are other ways to do this. We don't know them yet. They're coming up. And somebody will say, actually, you can say this, and it will be in the comments in YouTube, I guarantee. Because there's a lot of know-it-alls, people that, even though I say they're going to do it, they end up going and doing it. There are other ways to do it. I'm not going to ruin it for them. They're going to show you 2 or 3 other ways you can do it. All right. And one of them will make a mistake, and I'll point it out. Be like, no, that one means he did it for me. Because they'll make that mistake, I promise you. I believe this is the final question. This is from Lucas Gomez. He says, where does he streams? Where does he streams? I streams on YouTube. I stream on YouTube. And you can get notified on Twitter if you subscribe to or follow or whatever the word is that they use on Twitter. It's at Yes Japan. Just look for Yes Japan and you subscribe. And almost always the very first place that I post the notice to is Twitter, and it'll say something like live stream in a few hours or live stream. And then I post the link to the live stream setup in YouTube. And then when you click it, it'll give you a timer of when it's going to happen. If you go to Facebook, that's the second place that I post. It's Japanese from Zero on Facebook. If you're in our Discord room, you have to get an invite into the Discord room. But if you're in there, I typically go in there and I post it, or one of the admins will post a link into the Discord room saying that we're having a live stream. Also, the bell on YouTube. If you subscribe to this channel, if you are subscribed, that alone might not tell you that I'm doing a live stream. You have to check the bell. There's a little bell that you have to check next to the subscribe or somewhere that allows notifications to go out. For example, for those of you that are learning Korean, I highly recommend watching this girl. Beautiful Korean girl. Her name is Diva Jessica. Deeva Jessica. I watch her all the time. But I also get notifications all the time, so I'm always clicking into it and watching her do a live stream. And I never miss them. It just comes right up on my phone. I click it and it always comes right when it's started. And I believe I have set in the notices sometimes to let it notify up to an hour before to everybody. But the quickest way to get the notice, the earliest way, is always Twitter. And another thing, I don't have planned times. I saw someone getting very upset in the YouTube comments, like, screw this guy. If he can't commit to a certain time, I'm not going to watch his streams. You don't have to. You don't have to. I'm really not doing the streams for anyone, but I like myself to be... let me restate that. I'm not doing it for anyone. I'm doing it because I do a better video when I know people are watching. There's 108 people watching right now, and I feel accountable to those people. And in a sense, I'm making it for those people watching. And I kind of, in a sense, need them, but I don't need everybody. If there was 20 people watching here, I would have just as much energy. So you don't have to watch it. Almost everything that I make in these live streams does end up eventually go up on YouTube. There are times where I'll do a random stream, and I never will record it. There'll be 48 people in there. We'll talk about a bunch of things. I'll take questions, and then I delete it right away, and I'm done. Sometimes I'm just in the mood to do that. So that's the benefit. That's the number one benefit for being subscribed to the YouTube channel, because those I don't announce on Twitter. Only ones like this where I know I'm going to cut it up and put it up on YouTube do I actually announce on Twitter. That's it. If you'd like to learn more Japanese, you know where to go. It's yesjapan.com or Amazon.com, and you can get a book. All right. See you all later. Bye-bye.